Malini, if you only had 1 minute to tell someone why they needed to adopt the BRM role, what would you say?
Most senior leaders would say that their people are their biggest asset. And what BRM capability does is that it puts people and the relationships that they create throughout the organization at the center of all work. And this means that potential value from the effort that we put into our work is fully realized. And I think that will give organizations the best competitive advantage.
It's my great pleasure to welcome Malini Jayaganesh to Midday Mentors today. Malini, this has been a long time coming. I'm so excited to finally meet you one to one. You are one of our amazing BRM community. You're based over in Australia. Can I hand over to you to tell us a little bit about yourself, please?
Thank you, Estelle. Namaste to you and to everyone who's watching this recording. I'm also delighted to be in this conversation with you, Estelle, and I've been looking forward to it for a long time. So, as you mentioned, I'm based in Australia, so I'm in Melbourne. And I want to mention particularly, I'm grateful that you have started your day a little bit earlier this morning to accommodate the difference in our time zones.
And you're very late, so thank you very much indeed to you too.
I'd like to extend a very warm good day to everyone who's watching this recording of our conversation. I'm originally from India, but I've been calling Australia home for most of my adult life. I've been here for quite a number of years. I'm a business relationship manager. I lead business relationship management teams and capabilities in organizations, and I also am a BRM coach. And I love to write, and that's something that I have, revived my passion for in recent times. And Estelle, I know in particular there's a story that I published a few months ago that you like very much.
I do, Malini. It's the tomato story, isn't it? Tell the tomato story, please.
So the story it's titled "Begin the Day with a Tomato," and I don't want to give too much away because I think it's nice for people to actually read the story. But it's about something that I have learned to apply in my work, which was really inspired by my uncle, who got a smartphone when he was nearly 90 years old. Um, and every day, he touches my life, and he has actually he set an example for me. I try and do that for my team.
That's wonderful, and we'll leave a link to the tomato
Thank you.
story for anybody that wants to find out, Malini. And once people read it, they definitely need to share that tomato around. So, Malini, you deliver a broad spectrum of training. I know it's not just BRM. I know that's a huge part of what you do, and that's how we know each other. I know you're passionate about BRM. Can you tell us a bit about what you do train, and can you explain why you're so passionate about the BRM
So,
role?
in the context of business relationship management, I deliver training that has been developed by the Business Relationship Management Institute, which is headquartered in the USA, and it's a global organization. And the certifications are delivered through APMG, so that's how Estelle, you and I know each other. And so the Business Relationship Management Professional certification course, also known as BRMP, that is the one that I deliver most frequently. So that's the foundation level certification course. And then we also have an advanced one called the Certified Business Relationship Manager, which is CBRM, and I deliver that as well. And we have other non-certification courses offered by the Institute, which I deliver. For example, later this week, I'm delivering the BRM Executive Brief, which is really an introduction, into business relationship management for C-suite executives. So there's a few different BRM related courses that I deliver, apart from other related disciplines as well, such as change management. And the second part of your question, Estelle, is why BRM? Firstly, I am a very people oriented person. I generally thrive in environments where there's many people, working together and so on. But I think my real passion for BRM stems from the fact that I have seen that when organizations are able to get everyone working together, facing the same way and working together and collaborating not just in the short term, but, for the longer term, right? So setting up long-standing partnerships that are truly effective. I've seen that the kind of outcomes that we are able to achieve are just amazing. So way beyond what we might have intended to achieve. And I look around and I see, organizations face so many challenges these days. Society faces so many challenges these days. And I feel that, yes, when we learn to work together, we actually have, we have the potential to address these challenges and leverage all the opportunities that are available to us. So I'm really very keen to facilitate that, get people working together so that we can get far together.
And that comes across in absolutely everything I see you do, Malini. Malini, what roles or personalities do you see develop as BRMs?
That's actually a really interesting question, Estelle. What I am noticing increasingly is that there's no particular role or um, area of the organization from which we can say that this is where good BRMs come from, right? Because BRMs are actually everywhere. So in terms of roles, if you're looking within IT, people from a service delivery background, or a service management background, governance background, portfolio management, business analysts, project managers, program managers, all of those roles, they can all certainly work towards more strategic roles such as BRM. Right? And we also see that it's not limited just to IT. We see that across other functions as well, such as HR, finance, legal and compliance, sales and marketing and so on. Everywhere, the need to form strategic partnerships with other people within the organization and with external partners, etc., that need is certainly there. And there are people, who have if they have good operational knowledge, right, and they want to progress to more to be able to influence the organization in a more strategic way, then BRM is a really good pathway for that. I would certainly encourage middle managers across organizations to consider business relationship management as as a means to progress their career.
And how does it progress their career, Malini? How does it support them in their
So,
role?
firstly, I think it actually encourages them to think in a less transactional way, right? Because sometimes I come across, people or organizations where they'll say, "Why do we need business relationship management? We are actually working with stakeholders already, and we are collaborating with them on a project or something like that." And the thing is, when you're working as a business relationship manager, you're really playing a very long term game, right? So it's not about transactional relationships. It's actually about looking at how do we need to work together or set ourselves up for the longer term. So that might mean, having to negotiate differently, influence differently, and also cultivate a deeper understanding of each other's context. So, if our relationship is very short term and transactional, we may not necessarily spend enough time truly understanding what drives each other, right? Or the circumstances under which each one of us works. But when you're collaborating for the longer term, or when you're partnering for the longer term, I should say, then you do need to start from a position of deep respect and empathy, and leverage that to sustain the relationship. So what I think people get out of the BRM training courses is that it opens up their frame of reference, so where they might be looking at just, the Google Street View, right, of the organization. Suddenly they're actually looking at the whole planet view, so they're able to see, the whole system, so the organization in the context of the environment within which it operates. They'll be able to connect dots better. And once they can do that, that means when they see an opportunity, they can see it they can actually imagine its full potential, not just, not just a very siloed view of it. And that actually is really wonderful, because it means organizations, um, can stop reinventing the wheel as much as they do now, right? Because then you identify an opportunity and you can build it out to its maximum potential, instead of taking a very piecemeal approach to solving problems and so on. And the other thing, Estelle, is, in the BRM community, a metaphor that we like to use for business relationship managers is that we operate like the conductor of an orchestra, right? So the conductor of an orchestra is responsible for, facilitating, beautiful music, right? They themselves may not be playing any instruments, right? They may not necessarily be specialists in any single instrument, but they know when to bring the different instruments into the picture and make it sound really melodious. And I think that is something that, that is actually quite an enjoyable thing to do.
I love the Google Street View analogy. I think that's superb, Malini, and that sums it up. And the fact that everybody's playing in harmony, playing a concerto, a global concerto of BRM sounds wonderful. You've done a lot of training. You've seen a lot of people succeed. I know that. So, based on your experience, what are the factors that lend themselves towards successful BRM rollouts?
Again, this is a really great question, Estelle. What I have noticed, and in fact, it's not just myself, but it's also, I think at a global level, what we are seeing, is that, um, you know, BRM is being adopted very successfully by a whole range of different types of organizations. So, for example, government organizations are all, one can say, are pioneers in successful business relationship management, and we see, organizations in different parts of the world, in the US, in Australia, in Asia, etc. They are all implementing BRM, within their own context and with subtle differences and so on. But some of the factors that I think, which are common, like common denominators for a really effective BRM practice are, firstly, that there is a very strong intent to have strategic partnerships. And this needs to come from the very top, right? So when senior management is really behind this, then we can make it work. Because what we often see is that sometimes organizations, sort of set up a BRM team, but if they don't have the support of very senior management, it's very difficult for them to, to make progress. So that intent must be there, and then that intent.
So the organisation as a whole needs to adopt BRM is really what you're
That's
saying
right.
here,
That's
Malini.
right.
Is
Actually,
that right?
that's exactly right. Because trying to just do it for one function, such as HR or IT or finance alone, will only take you so far, right? Ultimately, you want everybody, the whole organization, to be working, at the same level, right? Or with the same approach. And so this intent of senior management to, to get behind business relationship management, right? I think should where we see really good outcomes, we also see that that intent gets articulated in building capability for staff, right? Because it's one thing to have good intentions, it's quite another thing to make that a reality in our day-to-day practice. And this is where I think where I see the training really come in, because the organizations that have successfully adopted business relationship management, what they tend to do is they get not just the people who are in dedicated BRM roles, but also all their allies. They put them through BRM training. So, for example, an organization that I've been delivering training for over the past year through ITSM Hub, um, they brought in their BRMs, then they to the training to do BRMP. They brought in their business analysts. They brought in their service delivery managers, their change managers, etc. And they've brought in they started off from IT, but they've brought in their finance business partners, HR business partners. They've all been attending the training, and they all come together, right? And what that means is they walk away with a shared vocabulary, with a shared understanding of what the goals are, you know, and then they have some tools and methods that they can start implementing together straight away. And that, I think, makes the biggest difference um, to to um, to success. So it's the intent, and building awareness and capability, I think.
That sounds fascinating, Malini, and the fact that the whole organisation is adopting it. How is that actually going for their rollout at the moment? Have you had any
Yes,
feedback?
I do have feedback almost every month or so, because they keep sending more and more staff to the BRM training. Um, it's actually
Amazing.
going really well, because the main thing is they find they don't have to explain what BRM is to each other, right? All the key people that they're partnering with now have an understanding of BRM, so they just can get on with the work. Because this is often a big challenge for BRMs, that other people don't understand what the role is about or what the purpose of the role is, and that often can undermine success. So this is actually really good. In fact, even their senior leaders came along. The senior leadership came along for some of our training. So everybody now understands. Everyone's on the same page.
Wonderful. And are they seeing a success as part of their department? It's a government department, you said. Are they seeing success in the
I
department?
would say yes, they are. And this is a key time for them, in their journey. They're undergoing a transformation, and the level of confidence that they have, and the level of enthusiasm that they have for what they're creating, is actually quite amazing to see.
Maybe we can get them back for a case study at a later date, Malini. I think we've talked a lot about the BRM role and BRMP itself. There's also CBRM, which you mentioned earlier, which is the progression for the next level. Can you talk a bit about CBRM, why people should consider it, and what's different about it to
Okay,
BRMP, please?
so BRMP is really the introduction to business relationship management, right? In a very structured way. So it tells you what is BRM, why is BRM, important, or why is it relevant, and it also gives you a bit of a roadmap, for what sort of capabilities you need to be, what sort of competencies you need to cultivate as a BRM. The CBRM takes things to a whole different level, because it's all about how do you apply all that in practice, right? And how do you actually um, establish, a successful business relationship management capability within the organization. So it's really suitable for experienced business relationship managers, who want to advance BRM capability within their organization. It's a really good certification for leaders of BRM teams to do, or people who are in roles, who are responsible for introducing BRM capability within the organization. So I would say that, if you're doing the BRMP, then you should plan to do the CBRM, right? It just sort of rounds up your knowledge, in a really practical way. And again, like with everything coming from the BRM Institute, This is based on both certification courses are based on the BRM body of knowledge, and it's full of really practical tools and templates and things that we can apply in our work. So I think the CBRM should be on the to-do list for all BRMs as well.
Thank you. As well as all of that, there's the BRM Institute, of course, which you mentioned. And I know you're on the board of directors, Malini. So when people are members, they can interact with you just as well as they can interact with somebody that really knows very, very little about the role and is just trying to sort of find their way within the community. Is there anything you can tell us about BRM Institute and what it's like to be a member and a board director?
So the BRM Institute is really a home for business relationship managers around the world. So when in fact, I still remember the day I discovered the BRM Institute. It was around 1 a.m. my time, and I was just trying to find more information about, BRM. And when I actually discovered that there was this whole community and there was this whole organization, set up, to help us, and I posted a message on the member forum, and Aaron Barnes replied. I actually burst into tears. I couldn't believe that there was someone on the other side of the world who was, willing to reach out and say hello. It made me feel very, very supported, because BRMs are often caught between a rock and a hard place. It's not an easy role to do by any means. And so the institute offers opportunities for members to connect with BRMs from other parts of the world, from BRMs from similar industries and so on as well. And there's a lot of practical material or resources that you have access to, as well as benchmark studies and so on. So it is really a treasure trove, and I would encourage anyone who's interested in business relationship management to actually look up the website of the institute.
And for those that don't know, I'm sure there aren't that many, Malini, but for those that don't know, Aaron Barnes is the CEO of the BRM Institute. So the fact that he picked up your message and answered it really meant something extra special. But I think that's something that I see that's quite unique within this community is not just the support of one another, but what people that could be potential competitors really support one another, and everyone is just a team. So you've got people delivering training in the UK and the US and India and Australia and all over the world, and you all like and support one another's posts on social media. You meet up at BRM Connect and you seem to nurture one another, and it's just lovely.
I think that actually comes down to what is BRM about, right? And good business relationship managers know that we don't need to be competing with each other to the point that we are actually curbing each other's growth. We can, it's like the tide that lifts all ships. There's enough and more for everyone, and if we approach it with the attitude that we are in this together, then we all benefit from it.
Well, it certainly seems to work. So, Malini, how can somebody get in touch with you? Where should they go? What should they do? Can they get in touch with you on LinkedIn?
LinkedIn would probably be the best way to get in touch with me. Please send a request to connect, and it might help also if you mention that you watch this recording and you are interested in business relationship management. Always happy to link up with more people.
Superb. Well, we'll leave a link to your LinkedIn there. And just before we close, do you have any final thoughts, Malini?
I would like to wish everyone all the best. I know we've been living through some very, very difficult times, and I think for those of you who are interested in business relationship management, I hope that you, like myself, you're very passionate about this craft, because it's really the way to bring our personal and professional purpose to life. So I wish you all the very best, and thank you again, Estelle, for having me.
Thank you, Malini. Thank you so much for coming.